Have you seen this image? It's a photo that's always sparked my imagination. Who is this man in this photo? And where did it come from? For some of the more seasoned internet users, many of you may remember this being a fairly popular image macro meme. That basically just means the photo was used with the top text, bottom text meme format. The photo typically had something poorly photoshopped on top of the computer screen, either to accompany the meme or it was simply just what version of the photo the user had decided to use. Or maybe you've even seen this meme as some cover photo to an article about living at home with your mother, or just something else related to computer nerds. Regardless of the context, I am sure that you have seen this image. This photo has been associated with something as lighthearted as computer nerds, to the darker neckbeards that hate women, or even whatever this is.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
But why? An image I've seen thousands of times across the internet, holding just some guy in a constant lifelong cycle of disrepute as the de facto internet basement dweller. I set out to find the origin of this photo. And with not a lot to go off of, I tried to find a match to the original image. This led me to knowyourmeme.com, a truly horrendous source most of the time for accurate information, but thankfully, it does have the original, unedited photo. The Know Your Meme page also has this comment left by a random user, whose only post is this comment stating the following. "This is my best friend's brother, David. He uploaded it to a chat group and was absolutely furious when he discovered the pic on Google years ago. It was probably taken in 1988 or 1989. He never had new computers, he just souped up old ones. The picture, a Polaroid, I think, hasn't been photoshopped, other than gray hair and he finally quit smoking. He looks pretty much the same. I used to be really good friends with him. I've lost touch with him, but I'm friends with his girlfriend. And he seems to be more into his grandkids than computers these days." While this would be an insane discovery this early on into the investigation, I've got a pretty good feeling this is just someone on the internet, well, lying.
You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
And with that, I need to find a lead, so reverse image searching will be our best bet of making a trail back. So with the freshly acquired picture from Know Your Meme in hand, labeled nerd_smoking.jpg, I go to the start of where all good image hunting investigations begin. Tenai. I slot our nerd_smoking.jpg image in, and 3,919 results pop up, 24 of which are the original image. The rest are variations. So on the topic of variations, my understanding is this has to be the first variation, as almost all of the other memes and subsequent variations either use this image or you can see the white background of whatever this page is photoshopped over it. While searching through the Tenai results, I stumbled across a webpage that seems to be a promising lead, Taringa. Taringa is an Argentina-based web form, meaning the entire page is in Spanish. This is no problem for good old Google Translate though.
Tu perro sucio.
The thread in question was posted by user Pabolina on Christmas Eve of 2007. We've got various photos, we have this one of some waves, one of a Heineken water fountain, and then there he is, our glorious little man. There's some other images on here as well, like this older gentleman trying to work a computer, an insane array of traffic lights, and many more. It's kind of remarkable going back through these older sites and remembering how far we've came in meme culture from these earlier stages of image macros with lolcats, advice animals, and the like. Enough reminiscing though. The biggest thing that we have from this thread is another original photo, this time labeled
Nos ancêtres les geeks.
or Our Ancestors the Geeks in French.
You a whole ass bitch for thinking I'd have any problems.
I told you Google Translate would have no issues. And at this point in my journey, the Taringa website was the oldest example throughout my investigation that I could find. Well, at least the oldest example of the original that I could find. See, I've neglected to mention that I wasn't exactly looking through the best matches result on Tenai, but actually the oldest. It's here I found other pages that predate the 2007 date. A gaming news article for the website Nintendo Life from December 19th, 2006 about the Commodore 64 joining the Wii Virtual Console lineup, depicting our lovely fellow as a Commodore nerd. And this bizarre page documenting a self-proclaimed tech nerd's journey throughout Seoul, South Korea. And lo and behold, nuzzled in between talks of comic books and some really interesting street photography, albeit accompanied by some batshit sexist ramblings, is our nerd character. This time depicting a gentleman before and after going to a Seoul Pod Party event. Dated March 6, 2006. Our oldest post yet. And sort of establishing there's a good likelihood this image was already a full-blown meme by this point. Here comes our second problem though. Both these images are in fact the first variation we talked about, with a web page overlaid on top of the computer monitor. The oldest example of the image linked us back to 2007, but here we have two variation photos over a year old, leading credence to my biggest fear in this search. I took a break from the 10i searching for a moment and decided to head where no man dares step foot. Reddit. Now, I'm not one to venture into no man's land.
This is it. Live or die.
But I did find something interesting that I just couldn't ignore. Another user asking the same thing I was. Who is this guy? Does anyone know the identity of the smoking computer nerd? Everybody has seen him. Does anyone know his real name or what his story is? What was his reaction to becoming a meme? I've seen this guy around the internet for years, and I'm curious about him. A post made over 13 years ago in 2011. I headed to the comments and you've got your jokesters, someone talking about the image on the screen being fake. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I don't know, it's fucking Reddit. Someone saying the dude probably died 50 years ago, and finally, something maybe of use. From the user Joe's. Someone here on Reddit knows him, or is him. I can't remember which, but they had a picture of the guy in the exact same corner, but with a brand new computer and everything. I can't seem to find it though. Well, I'm too lazy to look. That's kind of insane. If this was true and this image truly did exist, and the man in the meme is simply a Reddit DM away, that'd be the end of all of this. So, I did the unthinkable. I made a Reddit. Created a quirky profile and header and went to send Jose a DM. But his DMs were closed. So I instead looked at his comment history, as this Jose is super active, posting multiple times every hour, and I left him a little message there, asking if he remembered anything at all about this post, and how I could possibly dig it up. It seems far-fetched, but I don't know, Reddit was around in 2005, when this image would have likely been a popular meme. It is entirely possible this guy would have been someone who used Reddit in these early years. I mean, maybe, right? Honestly, how old is this image? Could the other guy be right? Is this guy dead? I mean, I doubt 50 years ago. In 2011, that'd be like 1961. But what is the date that this photo was actually taken in? So our next task was to figure out what year the photo was likely taken in. There's plenty of items around, we can get a pretty decent guess, starting with that computer. I can tell you with almost certainty, this computer is an IBM XT. Same monitor, same knobs, same tower, same keyboard. The only thing that throws me off is this little black rectangle here. But it's gotta be a sticker. I can tell you our distinguished gentleman is smoking Newport Menthol 100s. And he is using 3M double density 3.5-inch diskette floppy disks. But what does this draw our conclusion to? Well, the computer was released
March 8, 1983.
IBM started using those 3.5-inch floppy disks in 1987 with their PS2 line of computers, which included the AT. So, a bit of an editor's note here, the XT was not actually included in the PS2 line, it was a precursor to that line. But in 1987, they made this 3.5 diskette drive, which you could then retroactively take and put into these older models like the XT. It just wasn't around until the PS2 line, which I think is where I got confused. And the Newport he is smoking were around in the later 50s. I didn't think that that would actually help date the image at all. I just knew that's what he was smoking, and I thought it was a fun detail to add. All these factors together bring us to a likely time frame of 1985 to probably 1990 that this photo was taken in. Just doing some guesstimation, saying he's 25 in this photo, that puts him being born around 1965 and around 40 years when Reddit was first launched. I find it kind of unlikely he was around in 2011 for this Jost to see a post about him. Not improbable, but seeing at how the time of writing this, it's been nearly 10 days since my comment, and Jost has made exactly 50 posts since that comment, there's a good chance he's, well, lying.
You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
So we can pretty confidently call this lead a dud. But dating the image really puts things into perspective. We could be looking for an image that's at best 33 years old, and at worst 38 years old. A photo taken 2 to 5 years before the first image was ever even uploaded to the internet, and trying to find the scattered early internet trail back to it. It's at this point my greatest fear didn't just have credence, it seemed almost inevitable. And with the Reddit lead dead, I decided to try to figure out our variation problem. If there's a variation in 2006, there has to be an older post with the original image before that. This is when I learned how TinEye actually works. TinEye doesn't use metadata or keywords to search images, it uses recognition technology, which is fine and dandy. My assumption here is it uses some sort of web crawler, which basically systematically searches through as many pages and links as possible until voila! We found an image, add it to the database. The thing is, since there's no metadata it's searching for, these aren't actually listed by the oldest images, but instead are listed by the oldest time that TinEye found them. So while I was looking through the oldest dates, I could have been passing over older postings of the image that TinEye just hadn't found until recently. With this in mind, I went back through TinEye, searching every example I could find, hoping for the oldest date of the image, until I finally found hardware.fr, a French tech forum, and specifically the thread, the topic of amusing, bizarre images on the internet. Right there, nuzzled between early internet bizarre images, dated July 11th, 2005, and our geek ancestors. Posted by a user named Nato Bellevue, or Beautiful Nato in English. This is almost undoubtedly where the Terringa guy got the image from. Even scrolling down a bit further, we find the same Heineken water cooler image included in his thread, as well as that elderly man using the computer. 2005 puts us 18 years back now. Far cry from the 33 years back that this image likely originates from. But where did Nato get it from? The start of this thread mentions a site to obtain funny internet images. So, using our good friend the Wayback Machine, we headed over to allfunnypictures.com, even going to the exact day the photo was posted. We're greeted with a homepage and a featured stuff section. Funny pics, jokes, post your pics, celebrities, games, videos, fun pages, cartoons, greetings. Well, the photo has to be in funny pics, right? With so many options to choose from, I get a little lost and I forget exactly what I was looking for. Juvenile early 2000 joke titles overcome me. Condom art, I love balls, passing gas. Just so many to choose from. I opt for the aptly titled, Your Feet's Too Big. What a funny photo. That child's feet truly are massive. Wait, what is this? A watermark. The original image doesn't have a watermark at all, not even in this thread, so there's no way Nato got it from here. What a waste of time. At least, I got this funny image out of it. I need to find out where Nato got this image from. Going back to the thread, it's here I noticed something. All of the images posted in this thread are from external sources. Like, the images aren't actually hosted by hardware.fr, but are just embedded from an outside source. Some people use personal blogs, some pull directly from the sites themselves. And Nato, being extremely active in this thread, is pulling from a site called jleridu.free.fr. Punching this into the Wayback Machine, we only have 2 captures. One from 2006 and one from 2018. The 2006 one is the closest we have, and good morning, this is a test. Doesn't seem to be a funny image sharing site. Maybe the 2011 capture will show us some more. Is that Mr. Bean? The site is actually still like this to this day, and I have a feeling this might be Nato's personal site, and he might have just been hosting the images from this address to embed, leading to another dead end in finding a source for where he got this image. I did another thorough search through TenEye, but it really seems that the hardware.fr forum is the oldest version of the original image that has been picked up by TenEye. I also used Google Image throughout this investigation as well, but TenEye provided the most resourcefulness. With Nato's 2005 entry being our oldest, and it likely being held on his own website, it almost definitely seems like he got this image from somewhere across the net prior to 2005, which has truly confirmed that the nail in the coffin for this investigation is on the horizon, and my greatest fear had come knocking at my door.
You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
Link rot. Link rot is a phenomenon on the internet where previously accessible URLs are no longer accessible, be it from the domain being sold, or the servers housing the information going offline, or just being removed by the user. There's truly some insane statistics involving link rot. For example, 8.03% of all links break within the first 3 months, and a significant 44% of all links are gone after 7 years. 49% of the links cited in Supreme Court decisions are broken. I've left some links in the pinned comment to some great videos on the subject of link rot if you would like to learn more about the subject. This is why things like the Internet Archive and the Old Net are so important. Crawling and archiving the web, even in the most mundane of circumstances. TenEye doesn't search through these services, however. TenEye only crawls through active websites. If there ever was a chance to find a later date of this image, it'd be through one of these services. So I headed to Olda Vista, a search engine for the Old Net and the Wayback Machine, designed by a fellow YouTuber, The Eric Experiment, who has a whole video documenting the creation of this site that I highly recommend checking out. Using this may be my only chance to find traces of the image, so I began scouring through tags like weird people, funny images, nerd blogs, computer nerd, and throughout my searching, I found things like this nerd poem, dated 2002. The Nerd and Geeks Emporium, dating back to 2000. A nerd-positive, anti-jock website with a very interesting disclaimer. Special notice. Due to the fact that many anti-jock websites have been shut down, I post the following disclaimer. This website contains material that is anti-jock, but in keeping with policies set forth by Angel Fire, the anti-jock material does not advocate killing or violence against jocks. It merely speaks out against how the jocks have contributed to the general decline in quality of education by attacking the other students that are perceived as being nerds and geeks. Of course, I can't vouch for some of the other websites that have linked to, and I'm not responsible for their content, but only for the content and materials I have put up on my own webpage. Although I don't personally advocate physical attacks of violence against the jocks, I won't be crying boo-hoo should I ever hear on the news of any more jocks being killed. I'll probably laugh my ass off. Ah! With all that being said, on to the rest of the page. And while that's a little blunt, I kinda love this page. More excerpts from the page read things like, I'm proud to proclaim that I am a nerd, I am a geek. That's right, I'm a nerd. That used to be considered a rather derogatory term, used by jocks to describe anyone who didn't care for sports, those who preferred to hit the books and study hard in school. It's still considered a derogatory term by those jocks who wished to insult us, to label those who are not like them. But now, we wear those labels and badges of honor, so coming from the jocks, we consider it a compliment. Misspelled. When I went to school, I was a typical nerd. I didn't care for sports. I felt it was a total waste of time, and I preferred to concentrate on my school subjects instead. Mainly, I'm interested in science, especially astronomy and hyperdimensional, also misspelled, geometry. And I also enjoy arts and music, all the things that are labeled sissy stuff by all them ignorant jocks. My favorite hobbies are oil painting, designing and building radio-controlled model planes, astronomy, and someday I hope to finish building a telescope, an 8-inch Newtonian reflector. I also enjoy working with computers. And whether it's parody or this was a genuine person, I'm leaning towards the latter just because, God, it would be so funny. I began to forget about our friend, and while digging for an origin, I began to see and read pages and pages of things that I idealistically envisioned them as. I found someone's personal website reviewing every episode and season of Friends. I mean, this is like stuff people make YouTube videos about now. I could probably look one up at this exact moment. Oh, look at that. 5.8 million views. And through my countless searching of the terms funny images, nerd images, weird pictures, I either found nothing or I was met with pages that all contained images lost to time due to link rot, even with them being archived through the Wayback Machine. And I think this is the best time as any to bring this up. Throughout this journey searching for the origin of a photo that's likely over 30 years old, uploaded during a very early portion of the internet's lifespan, the topic of link rot was always on my mind. Pages and pages of creative individuals' personal blogs, old internet secrets, and lost media just stripped away by a complex phenomenon. I don't really know how to say this. I like to take some pride in the information I've provided, the rough guesstimation of the date of the image, the earliest example I could actually come up with, and my hours spent searching for something more substantial. I guess it's hard to take pride in the accomplishments you've made along the journey when you never reach the destination. But as the old saying goes, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And this journey has led me up to one place. The Garden of Eden. Eve Anderson created this page sometime in the 90s, and it is a sprawling web page for its time, but it is all authentically Eve. Eve is a Caltech and UC Berkeley alumni with a master's in mechanical engineering. Her favorite sports include swimming, weightlifting, and dancing. Her favorite music is typically classical and jazz with some rock thrown into the mix with bands like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, and Jimi Hendrix. There's a little hyperlink stating Jimi Hendrix went to her high school, and clicking it takes us to a story accompanied by pictures of how her school had erected a bust of Hendrix himself in honor of his time there. And when she was a freshman, the evil seniors would kidnap her and force her to worship the statue, accompanied by kneeling to praise it and throwing up peace signs as some sort of exit ceremony. That's the beauty of Eve's website here. Everywhere you turn, there's links to something new, all with this quirky, offbeat, nerdy humor. The opening landing page sees Eve painted over, sporting a Martian look, a theme carried throughout the entire site, even getting the following origin story under the link titled, My Nifty Story. I'm now gonna tell you secrets which have never been told, where I came from, and how I got here. I'm confiding in you because I think it'll help you understand me and my perception of the world. I hope you will find it enlightening as well as interesting. I have only one request of you. In order to preserve my freedom and quality of life, please do not pass any of this information to the FBI. Thank you, and enjoy the story which follows. I came from the planet Grargel, in the solar system Boobaloo. Incidentally, I later named my pet tropical fish after these planets and star. I named my favorite fish Boobaloo. This is my immediate family, which is considered small by Gargalian standards. Below, you will see a page from the family photo album, which my mom faxed to me using her antennas. Life on Gargle was generally pleasant and relaxing. One day, my fellow board Gargalian, Mersky, and I hotwired a spaceship. Coincidentally, quite similar to the one shown on the World Wide Web dating game, another page linked on Eve's website. We rode gleefully through space until we were shot down above the planet Luceru. The Lucerians were engaging in heavy fighting amongst themselves. As I tried to repair the ship, my antennas were damaged, but we managed to escape. It wasn't until hours later that we realized what made them shoot at our ship. Rumor has it the Luceran species is the one from which Barney evolved, but I find it hard to believe that his happy ancestors could have defended themselves in such a brutal war. Unfortunately, the ship had been damaged more badly than I had thought. We crashed again, this time in a far more frightening place called Los Angeles. Mearsky wasn't very happy in Los Angeles, so he moved to the East Coast where he immediately became very popular with blonde, antennaless women. He also started up Mearsky's Worst of the Web. Have you ever wondered why he didn't put a picture of himself on the web? I stayed in Los Angeles where I soon found a new home where I fit in perfectly. It was called Caltech. I call my parents sometimes. My antenna has now recovered from the Lucerian accident. My family is doing just fine, and my mom told me that she thought it was about time I was living on my own. Now that we have an origin for Eve, we can point out a love for a certain mathematical constant, pi. It's plastered all throughout the site, with a trivia game being created for it by herself, and a poem written about it as well. Some of my favorite pieces on Eve's site is this flyer for a make-believe religion that, from what I can gather, is about supremacy in having a hairy butt, and the highest form of being is that of an uncle. Eve also apparently handed this flyer out on a hot summer day in a toga, because she was bored. Or probably my favorite page on her site. As someone who enjoys making music for fun, it's always great seeing something like this tucked away in a lost site. Sexy Susie, a song written in 1997 and sung by Eve herself with an accompanying wave track to download, alongside the lyrics, and a story of the song's creation. What led me to write Sexy Susie might be considered as strange as the song itself. Late one night last summer, I was sitting at Denny's, writing, and my right hand became very tired. I thought, if I were to train myself to be able to write with my left hand too, I would be so much more productive. Then I started thinking of other ways to make myself more productive. I could experiment to find the sleeping schedule, the nutrition, the balance between physical and mental activities, etc. to maximize my ability to do certain kinds of work. I could become like a human computer. Of course, I quickly realized that I wouldn't want to be this human computer. I, like many people in this country, am guilty of overemphasizing the importance of productivity. But what is the point of having the creativity and the emotions of human if we are going to work like machines? Not that there's a point to life anyways, but we might as well enjoy these unique characteristics. Anyways, a few days later, when I happened to think up a cute melody, I had human computers on my mind. I was in a silly mood, and the words to Sexy Susie just came to me without having to think about them.
Fell asleep one night after having too much to drink. She woke up an hour later and didn't know what to think. Looking in the mirror, she saw everything had changed. No flesh, bone, blood, hair, fingernails remained. Her reflection showed she had
There is so much more to explore on Eve's page. I could go on all day. Eve is such a fascinating individual, and her whole site is truly a time capsule for the time period it was created in. This hyper-aware, computer wizard, geeky type were exactly the people that were leading the forefront of this internet revolution, where you could just have your own little space for no other reason than it was just fun, and for you. Eve Anderson is actually still around today, where she either works for Google or previously worked for Google, with www.eveanderson.com still being accessible today. Not as 90s and time capsule-y as it used to be, but it's still quite the interesting scroll, with new music being created by Eve uploaded to the site. And my favorite addition, her newfound love for travel photography, and especially the graffiti section of these photos. Going into this, I really hope to find a page similar to Eden's Garden for our own nerd smoking image. Ideally, I'd imagine he'd be some computer nerd with his own blog, discussing his favorite movies, music, and software developer capabilities. And while that's almost the textbook definition of a parasocial relationship, and my own idealization of a man in a meme that I don't even know the name of, kinda think it's just human nature. The air of mystery surrounding something, and the goal of seeking the truth, meanwhile letting your mind run rampant with the finer details in between. You just might come up with some possibly foreign idea of a person you've never even met. It's incredible the internet's ways to connect us, let us bathe in our own persona, wear whatever mask we see fit, and yes, even lie. Such a powerful tool. My specific search for a person led me to a whole collection of people I'd envisioned said person as. We're so used to using things like Google for every bit of information, every bit of entertainment is right at the click of our fingers for years and years on end, but could simply just disappear the next day due to factors like link rot. And while I may have failed in my goal of finding the nerd smoking image, I'm thankful for the journey, as I never would have discovered Eden's Garden without it. And through a stroke of luck, you never know what you might find if you just start searching. Thanks for watching.